Once upon a time, there was a small village in the heart of a dense forest. The village was inhabited by people who had a deep love for tradition and a strong sense of community. Every day they would wake up early, tend to their farms, and spend time with their families. One day, a traveler came to the village. He was tall, with a bushy beard and a kind smile. The villagers welcomed him warmly and invited him to stay for a while. The traveler was different from the villagers. He spoke in a strange accent, wore unusual clothes, and had a peculiar way of looking at the world. The villagers were intrigued by him and asked him many questions about his life. The traveler told them that he had traveled to many places and had seen many things. He had met people who were different from him, and he had learned many new things. The villagers were amazed by his stories and asked him to tell them more. One day, the traveler told the villagers a story about a young man who had grown up in a city. The young man had always felt out of place in his surroundings. He had different interests and opinions than the people around him, and he felt like he didn't belong. One day, the young man decided to leave the city and go on a journey to find himself. He traveled to many places, met many people, and tried many new things. Along the way, he learned that it was important to be true to oneself and not to conform to society's expectations. The villagers listened intently to the traveler's story. They realized that they, too, had been trying to conform to society's expectations. They had been afraid to express their true selves and had been living a life that was not truly their own. The traveler told the villagers that to be oneself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. The villagers were inspired by his words and decided to embrace their individuality. From that day on, the villagers no longer cared about conforming to society's expectations. They expressed themselves freely and lived their lives to the fullest. The traveler stayed in the village for a while longer, sharing his stories and wisdom with the villagers. In the end, the traveler left the village, but he left behind a legacy. The villagers had learned the importance of being true to oneself and had found a new sense of freedom and happiness. And so the village became known as a place where people could be themselves and live their lives on their own.